Blade Runner 2049 is a science fiction film directed by Denis Villeneuve and stars Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford. Before I begin, I've just got to put it out there, I'm not that huge on the first Blade Runner film. I have respect for what the film inspired. I liked the film's visual style. It was a very good looking movie, but unfortunately, in the end, it just wasn't for me. So yeah, this film I had a little bit of doubt because, again, I wasn't that huge on the first one. I liked it, but again, Blade Runner is that type of movie that I wouldn't put on my favorite films list. But yeah, with Blade Runner 2049, would I put it on my favorite films list? No. But what I can say about this film is it is one of the year's best films. This film is a pitch-perfect sequel. This film does everything a sequel needs to do and does even more. And what I mean by that is this film is its own being, because you don't need to have seen the first film to see this film. You can see Blade Runner 2049 and have no clue what the story was from the first film. Even though Blade Runner 2049 is labeled as a sequel, it is its own being. It has its own story, it has its own characters, and yes, while Harrison Ford is reprising his character from the first film, he plays more of a supporting role in this film. This film is mainly centered around Ryan Gosling's character, as his character is the focus of this movie's story. Before I get into what I liked with the movie, I do have one thing that I didn't like about it. And for me, it's the same problem I had with the first Blade Runner. It tends to drag on and on and on, and it feels very slow. And I know the Blade Runner films are intentionally slow for a reason, but this for me is just a personal gripe I hold against both movies. I find them to be very slow, and some scenes drag on for a little bit longer than they needed to. And this did affect my feeling towards Blade Runner 2049, and it does affect my score of the film. And this is the only problem I had with the film. Everything else is perfect. To start off with, this is a beautiful looking movie, and the cinematographer who did this is the legendary Roger Deakins. Any film where he's the cinematographer, you can expect great shots from him. And this is probably the best film with the best cinematography done by Roger Deakins that I've ever seen. And it blows my mind that he's never won an Oscar for any of his work. So if this film does get nominated for Oscars, one award that it desperately needs to win is Best Cinematography, because this is Roger Deakins' best work ever. An aspect about this movie that I do have to bring up is the visual effects. Every 10 years or so, I notice a science fiction film that revolutionized visual effects. And the visual effects in Blade Runner 2049 is the next step in visual effects. These were the most incredible, amazing, beautiful visual effects I've ever seen. These are probably the best visual effects I've ever seen since Inception. And the visual effects in Inception themselves were revolutionary. And 7 years later, we've got the next step in revolutionary special effects. I won't give away what effects are in this film because I was blown away by these effects, and I do not want to spoil what they are. The one thing I absolutely 100% have to praise about this movie is its director. Denis Villeneuve is one of the greatest directors working today. Every film he's made has been great. Blade Runner 2049 is the film Denis Villeneuve has been waiting to make his entire career. For the past few years, every film I've seen from Denis Villeneuve has been getting better and better and better. From Prisoners to Sicario to Arrival, Blade Runner 2049 is Denis Villeneuve's magnum opus. And this is the film I think he should win Best Director for. And whenever people rank Denis Villeneuve's films, Blade Runner 2049 will be at the top of the list. Overall, if you're a fan of the first Blade Runner film or a die-hard science fiction fan, this is the film for you. There is so much more I want to say about this movie, but I do not want to give it away. This film, pure and simple, is a masterpiece. The film is beautifully shot, the film has great special effects. All the praise in the world has to go to Denis Villeneuve because he had the risky task of doing a sequel to one of the most beloved science fiction films of all time. And not only does he give us a great sequel, but a film that can stand on its own merits. And even though I never truly liked the first Blade Runner movie, I very much enjoy this film even more. And personally, I think Blade Runner 2049 is better than the first film. And I'm going to give Blade Runner 2049 a 9.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel below. As always, I'm NETX5. Thank you for watching.